teacher, author, and speaker, Bonnie.
You're watching Vision Plus. Without a vision, the people perish. One of the exciting things about that verse from Proverbs is that people across this country get an idea of the vision they'd like to have in their life. And one of the most exciting people that I've met over the last dozen years, I knew his mother. She went through cancer. What kind of cancer was it that she had?
She had cancer in a tumor on her back.
Yeah, and my daughter has breast cancer, so we know a lot of people that have been, but she was my son's school teacher at one time, and also just an incredible family. Has a brother that's a minister and also a realtor, and his name is Allan Mann. Allan is a person we're going to ask him about that is running for to become a judge, and all of you will be hearing more about that between now and November. He's a person married, got beautiful, handsome children. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, thanks, Bonnie. First of all, it's an honor to talk to you, and the feeling's mutual about you and your family. I'm a native of this county. I was born here and have grown up here. Our family had a farm out in the county, and they still do. And so we were raised to work and with a certain respect for not only our community here, but also a work ethic. I went to graduated from New Hope High School here in this county, and then went to Auburn University. I met my wife there and came home with a wife and a degree from Auburn, and then went to law school and came back here to start my legal career.
My brother went to law school, and he took the bar exam 3 times, never did pass it. But he was really, really happy to learn what he needed, because he actually owned a business, and this helped him in his business. And I have another friend that went to law school, didn't pass, but he used it for his business. So I congratulate you on passing the bar exam. That's not easy.
Yeah, that bar exam's a bear, but it's something you only want to do once.
Now, you have been more than a dozen years here as an attorney, haven't you?
I started here in 1993, which was 17 years ago, as an assistant district attorney. Our district attorney then, Tim Morgan, hired me as an assistant, and I worked there for 5 years as an assistant of his. Went out into private practice in 1998 and began doing several things, primarily criminal defense work, trial work, and also some real estate practice.
Now, help us to understand the difference in civil and criminal, all the different aspects. I know you didn't work in domestic. When people
I did very little domestic. I did some civil. Civil and criminal vastly different. And civil is basically someone suing for some money, some damages, some compensation for something that needs to be done or has already been done, some act, and that's primarily what's at stake. Criminal, of course, someone's very liberties at stake based on some kind of violation of a crime of our Alabama code.
And so you have actually been involved in all 3 of those aspects, the real estate and...
Been involved in quite a few aspects of things over the years.
You know, there's so very few that born and raised in Madison County.
Well, doing real estate practice over the years, we get to meet a lot of people at their loan closings, and it is unusual, more and more so, to find someone that's born and raised here. Although we have lots of good transplants here, lots of good folks that come to Huntsville because they know it's a good place to live.
I hear, well, we hear it. USA Today said it is, and several other publications talked about it being the #1 place to live and raise a family. And
we're
so,
fortunate to have the community we have here.
So tell me something about some of the cases. What's the most scary criminal case you ever did?
Well, it's a variety, and over the years I've handled probably 1,500 or so criminal cases. And you have everything from someone that gets a DUI or gets caught with shoplifting or theft of property to capital murder. I've handled almost 24 murder cases. About 16 or 17 of those have been capital murder cases, which are kind of the peak of what you handle in criminal law, because they're just not only liberty, but maybe their very life at stake if the death penalty is sought. So you face some very tough situations. Those cases get very grueling and time-consuming and draining, but they have to be handled professionally and by competent lawyers.
How do you do your research on this particular person or what's happened? I guess you go back through cases that have happened.
Well,
in the
you
past.
have to, depending on the case and what the facts of the case are and what unique issues there are to that case, you do as much background work as you can into not only your client's background or the other party's background, but also the what precedent of law may have been set that might help you form how you're going to form a defense for that case, or the prosecutor, how you're going to present your case legally. So there's a lot that goes into preparing and investigating and researching every single issue. Of course, if you're going to seek the death penalty on someone, you've got to exhaust everything that you can to make sure that person has had a fair defense.
How does Madison County compare with other counties as far as a backlog of?
Well, that's one of the whole reasons we're sitting here, Bonnie, is that Madison County has 6 circuit court judges currently, and the legislature passed in early 2008 to add a 7th circuit court judge. We lobbied the legislature for a while. We all know how tight money is in all forms of government, and state of Alabama is no different. But the caseload here was so critical. We had not had a new circuit court judge since 1974. And having grown up here, I was very small then, but just imagine how the population has grown since '74, and we have not grown with it in our court system. And so just adding the 7th judge helps some to give you some idea of the backlog. The research that has been done across the state of the average circuit court judge, which is the position I'm running for, handles approximately 1,200 cases a year. The Madison County Circuit Court judges had about 2,500 cases a year. And the numbers reflect that we could possibly, ideally have 10 or 11 circuit judges. That's probably not going to happen. We're lucky to get the 7th at this time. And so it's a minor fix, but it will help some to try to alleviate the caseload and get them moving a little bit more. But the backlog is just tremendous here based on the number of cases.
I know Deanna's a court mediator, which they just try to handle the little tiny things to see if a judge can say, okay, you've got your property across this fence, you need to do, you know. It's
Well, and in civil cases particularly, judges refer a lot of cases to mediation to try to get those worked out and to free up the courtroom time for some cases that have to be tried.
My grandfather was circuit court clerk back many years ago in Paragould, Arkansas.
Well, our clerk here has a great responsibility. I mean, you think about that number of cases that have to go through that office and organizing the juries, and Jane Smith is our clerk here in Madison County, and she does an excellent job. But everybody has to work together to get those moved.
Well, now you are, as you said, you met your wife at Auburn.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
My wife Amy and I this summer we've been married 20 years.
Oh, good.
And we have 3 children, and 2 are in high school, and 1 is about to be in middle school, and so that keeps us busy. But we're very blessed, and of course my family's here, having grown up here, and we have some cousins and brothers and sisters here, and we have a good time. It's hard to find time to get together as much, but with everybody's busy, but we have a good time, and we're very blessed to have a good schools here, good church family, and a good community to raise our family in.
And I know your mom so active always for many years in the real estate field, and she has just been an example as a teacher, Sunday school teacher, and doing special things. And your brother has always been very active in a lot of things, went away for a while and back again.
Right.
So have you ever thought about running after you are the judge? We can say, here comes the judge. Have you ever thought of, do you have like a 3-year plan, a 5, 10-year plan?
I don't, and I really had not planned to do this until just a few years ago.
What happened?
A couple of things. A few folks encouraged me in that direction, and I still kind of resisted that. But there's such a need there, not only for just someone to fill the spot, but for someone that's going to work hard, and for someone that's going to be that has a love and a commitment to this community to make sure that justice is done, that fairness is employed. And I have a great respect for our judges. I've had the pleasure of practicing in front of numerous judges here over the last 17 years. And some are retired and some are still there. And our judges do work hard, but they weary after a while. And we've had some retire and some that may be retiring in the coming years. And it's time for somebody with a little more energy to get in and to work. One of the big things about our court system now that we're going to have to employ as across the state and the nation is we're going to have to employ technology more to help with caseload management, and that brings change for lots of folks, but it's still, we're going to have to find ways to use every resource we can to work with this caseload. It's not going to go away, but we're going to have to do the best we can with it. So we've got to, I felt a call to move into that direction. My great-grandfather was a county commissioner here a long time ago. And we've always been taught about community.
On the Mann side?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
About community service, and there's a service aspect to it. And I feel like this is just the right time with this new position that it just seemed to be a good fit. And so just made a decision.
Well, you have something in front of you. I wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
Well, I wanted to make sure I got these numbers right because they're fairly updated. When our contingent from Madison County, which included our DA and some judges and the circuit clerk, went to the legislature to try to get this new position. They used some numbers based on our caseload, and these are updated now as of 2009, just to give you some idea of the volume. That there were nearly 14,000 cases filed in the circuit court alone here in Madison County in 2009, and
just 1 year.
And over 44,000 in the district court, or the lower court.
Whoa.
in 2009. And so therefore you got that many you have to dispose of every year to be able to just to keep up. And so it's really difficult to do that. Now district court and circuit court are different. And we can
How are they different? Just
well,
for us.
kind of a thumbnail of what we have 4 district court judges
Right.
in Madison County, and this new position will be 7 circuit judges. Circuit judges have what's called general jurisdiction. They have jurisdiction over pretty much anything, any kind of case that can come up, civil or criminal. Circuit court judges hear cases, civil cases where the amount in controversy or involved in the lawsuit exceeds $10,000. They also hear criminal cases, which are all the felony cases, everything up through the murder cases and all felony offenses. They also hear all divorce cases and domestic cases. So that covers a lot of cases. The district court has limited jurisdiction. It has jurisdiction over juvenile cases. It also has, here's misdemeanor cases, here's civil cases that are less than $10,000, and small claims cases that are less than $3,000. And the backlog in the circuit courts comes about when not only the circuit court has the original filings that originate in the circuit court, the felony case, the large civil case. If you lose in district court, if I sue you in the lower court and I lose, I can appeal that case up to the circuit court. So it has to start new now in a circuit court. Same thing in a criminal case. If you lose in a misdemeanor criminal case in district court, you can appeal that up to circuit court. And many, many people do that. So that creates a whole new case, even though it's the same case, now in circuit court. So it's confusing, but it really log jams the system when there's so many filings, and we haven't kept up with that with our facilities or our staffing.
Mm-hmm. I know with the BRAC coming in, that's going to be a lot more.
The problem's not going to go away.
No, it isn't. I know. I'm sure your mom saw it, and I saw it in one of the Huntsville, well, I think it was a chamber publication or one North Alabama, and it said there's a need, will be a need for 22,000 homes for them, and that includes the current homes.
Right.
22,000. That means a lot of movement's going to happen, and a lot of new people that will not understand maybe the way that the circuit court works in the South.
Well, and
They're from all
every
over the
state is
country.
different and
That's
has their
right.
different system, so it is something to learn, and just that influx of any number of citizens is gonna bring with it, just by averages, a number of new divorce cases, a number of new, even criminal cases and civil cases. Just as your per capita goes up, so does your caseload, and that's just naturally gonna happen. So we've gotta find a way to, if we can't keep up with it with our number of judges, at least with our system, that it runs smoothly, to do the best we can
To
with
kind
that
of
kind of level.
expedite everything for you.
And that's the tough balance, right? And I think our judges that we have, somebody asked me why I had not run before. I would probably not run against any of our sitting judges, because I have lots of respect for them and the job they do. And so this new position gave me a good opportunity, but the balance of expediting cases and still making sure that each case gets its due is a tough balance, because you can become such a machine that you're just running cases through the system, and that's not justice. Or you can spend too much time in this one area and let these others go, and that's not justice either. So it's very tough. If you're the one that's getting sued, or you're the one that's on trial, your case is very important to you, and you're not just one of the 15,000. This case is your life. So a judge has to, particularly in a divorce case or a domestic case, when you're deciding on issues that are going to affect people's lives for the rest of their lives, custody of their children, things like that, it has to be given such serious consideration. But at the same time, if the case just languishes in the system, your life is put on hold in the meantime. So it's a very tough balance, and it's easy to criticize others that do it without knowing what they're having to consider and what they're having to do in the meantime.
I see you have several statistics. Tell us a
Well,
little bit about
some people, these are some of the questions people have asked me about.
Okay.
What is a circuit, Judge? What is a circuit? Well, we have 67 counties in Alabama, but we only have 41 judicial circuits. Some counties, particularly the larger counties, are circuits in themselves. Madison County is the 23rd Judicial Circuit. But some of the rural counties combine to make a circuit, where there may be just one circuit courthouse to hear several cases.
counties.
But that's where the circuit comes in. And in Madison County, every judge is elected county-wide. We are not elected by districts of certain areas of Huntsville or Madison. Or the judges, that's another question we get a lot. People say, well, can I vote for you? Well, if you live in Madison County, anywhere within the bounds of Madison County, and are a registered voter here, then you can vote.
So you'll be on the ballot, whether it's a Republican or a Democratic ballot, you'll be on that ballot, won't you, on both of them then?
Well, yeah, in November. If you do not have primary opposition, you're not on the ballot in June at all. So
you don't have primary
I do
opposition.
not. Right.
So you don't have to concern yourself with June, you can just concentrate on November.
Right. And of course, everybody knows you can't vote but for one party in the primary, but of course in the
But you'd be
general
listed on both of those.
in the general election
In the
November.
general
Right.
election, so that they don't feel like, well, if I don't go a certain direction, I won't be able to.
No, you
vote
can
for
cross
Alabama.
over and vote
Yeah.
for whoever you want in
Yeah.
November.
Well, some of these other statistics that you.
Well, just the number of judges, just to give you some idea in Alabama, there's currently, and these are, I think, up-to-date statistics, 143 circuit judges. There's 279 municipal judges. Now, we know that many small towns have their own judge. Huntsville has a municipal court here that employs full-time judges, and so those count as just like a district court judge would, and those judges, if you lose in Huntsville Municipal Court and you want to appeal your case, those go up to the circuit court as well. So there's a lot of possibilities of cases flowing up to the circuit court. Another thing unique about the circuit court, it's the only place you would get a jury trial. There's no jury cases in the lower courts, whether it's municipal court or district court. And that's another responsibility that a circuit judge has, is overseeing, which is a very different proceeding. I've tried many non-jury cases and I've tried many jury trials, and it's a whole different animal. If it's a non-jury case, you have one person to convince, and that's the judge in the case. The jury, you've got 12 to convince, and they're average citizens who are usually not learned in the law, so it's
In
a
fact,
different.
they seem like they prefer to have people that are not. I remember one time I was called for jury duty, and were asking the questions they always ask the jurors or potential, said, well, do you have a certain person you would vote for? Now, in my case, I said, well, yes, I know the attorney. It wasn't Allan Mann, but whoever it was another state. And I said, whatever he says, I'm going to believe him. I didn't get to be.
You were probably struck.
I was struck from that jury in that minute.
The jury.
But you have to be honest.
You have, and the jury selection process is such a unique thing, you hone that for years and you never perfect it, but depending on the kind of case you've got and what issues are involved in the case, you really try to uncover any biases that you might have in the jurors, and for both sides do that, and it's an inexact science for sure, but it's an interesting process to get down to a jury you can.
Well, now you got those three very beautiful and handsome children. Tell us a little bit about how they feel about their daddy running for judge. Have they been kidding you about it? Here comes the judge.
Well, they initially I think they did, but I think as we've gone to some events, they have learned a lot about our system. They weren't as interested in what Dad did at work, except the few times we might be in the news on a murder case or something. They might follow that, but all of a sudden they started learning more about our court system. I don't know if any of them will follow in a legal career or not, but I'm grateful that they now at least have a good working idea of what our system is about, and they've helped me campaign, and they've gone to some events, and it's been a family effort. It's really been a blessing for our family, and to have them in my corner means a lot. Win or lose, I can handle it as long as I go home.
Did you go to the family? We're having this family meeting. Dad wants to run for
We did. We had
judge.
when we have a serious talk to have, we usually sit at the table and talk about it, and sometimes they're scared when it's time to sit at the table, but this was a positive thing, and we had a talk, and they were my youngest thought I'd look funny in a robe. That was her initial reaction, but I think over time they've really enjoyed it, and so I'm proud to have them along with me at this time, and I hope they'll remember it fondly at some point.
Oh, yes, they will. We're going to Washington, D.C. because my granddaughter needs to know more about the history in the United States, so anything we can do to help our children or grandchildren learn more about the system so that we can do the very best in voting and in what we do. What is the difference in felonies and, everything, and what do you need
Well,
to do?
and it's complicated in a lot of ways, but getting people to learn at least the basic constitutional principles and to appreciate what we have. Our system's not perfect. I don't think it'll ever be perfect, but it is so much better than what anyone else has.
Oh,
For all the flaws that we may have in our justice system, where else are you entitled to the rights that you have here, or entitled to the fair trial that you have here? Now, you ask someone that loses, they may not think they were treated fairly, but I think we have overall a very good system.
Well, I know we don't want to get into specific cases, but just recently there was a person that the jury said he was not guilty for murder. When you hear something like that, and let's say that you had been the attorney or somebody else the attorney, how do you guys handle if the jury comes back with a decision that you think should have been going the other way?
The jury always comes back with a decision that somebody didn't like,
Yeah,
and that's why it's an adversarial proceeding. But one of the things that the attorneys have done, and I have great respect for a lot of our district attorneys that I've tried cases against, very good friends, and we'll go to battle. I mean, we'll fight tooth and nail in the courtroom, and then maybe go to lunch together. It's just, there's a level of professionalism you have to take, that everyone has a job to do, and I've told juries this before. The system in a criminal case at least doesn't work unless you have a fair judge, a very competent prosecutor, and a very competent defense attorney, all doing their job to the best of their ability. And if any part of that breaks down, it's not really a fair proceeding. So you want excellence on all fronts, from the bench and from each side of the courtroom, and we try to do that. And most of the lawyers that I know here try hard to do that. But it's it takes a bite out of you when you lose, and it's but you have to pick
Are-
yourself up
do
and
you-
fight another
Have
day.
you had to take cases that you took the side that you really didn't agree that the person was either guilty or not guilty? Have you had to?
Well, there's some cases you take where it may just be how the situation happened. We had a murder case a few years ago where a young man walked into a restaurant and shot some folks, and that, there's not a question of who did it in a case like that. You're trying to look at all aspects of the case and what may have been their mental state, or what may be an appropriate sentence. And so you're not always fighting a whodunit case. Sometimes it's more of trying to present each side of the case and getting them to see, getting a jury to see not only this one particular offense, but this person's life and what all led to that point. And it's a tough balance, and criminal cases in particular are very tough, and they're hard on juries to hear too.
Well, you're very active in your church. It's a faith-based attorney, and I did research with 24 congressmen in Washington, D.C. When Zach Wamp from Chattanooga was one of them, and Bud Kramer from here. They were all. I was working on my doctorate to find out about what we can do about latchkey kids and kids that are, the arsenic hour from 3:30 to 6:30 when maybe parents are not there. And so this $200 million that Clinton had allocated for that, or Congress had, it was shown that faith-based answers are what we need. Now, you're a very faith-based Christian, that everything I think that you wonder about or figure out or do research is based on very deep ethics that you have. How did that come about? Tell us about your Christian life.
Well, I was raised in a home like that, where you were taught certain values, and I know everyone is different with their religious background, and I think it's a very healthy thing to respect everybody's differences on that. But I do think coming with some very basic biblical ethical principles, they instill in you when you're put in a position to work in whatever field you work in. They automatically give you your default, what you go back to, whether it's hard work, integrity, honesty, treating people the way you want to be treated. All those go back to your upbringing, but they're not wearing your religion on your sleeve per se. They're living by the principles that are part of you. And when you go to be in a judge position, it's very inappropriate for a judge to legislate religion or from the bench. That's not something that you do. But what you can do is reflect your faith in a very real way by the way you live, whether it's your ethics or your work ethic, or the way you treat people, your compassion you have for people, your sense of right. Those things, I think, are ways that we exhibit our faith every day, and those things speak certainly louder than any sermon you might preach. And so, in that sense, my faith is very deep in me, and has a lot to do with whether no matter where I'm working, what I'm going to be about.
And you are, in addition to your Christian ethics and your work ethics and all of them that are based on your morals, you have a sense of doing something that leaves a legacy for not only your children, but all of the people's paths you cross and lives you touch. I've observed you for the last dozen years.
Well, I appreciate that, and maybe that's conscious. Sometimes maybe it's I don't realize that, but I think you get very few opportunities to make impressions with people for good, and sometimes you only get one, and so you certainly want to take every opportunity you can to leave a positive impression, particularly of a Christian, to someone, and I believe taking those opportunities seriously.